and we're more than happy that we're having a going virtual seminar today, because since the pandemic of COVID-19, it's been with us more than 2 years right now. We've been struggling a lot, but for ACBS, we're not stopping. We're actually moving on, and ACBS, we are developing and we're thinking of what to do, and development here has been going through the countries in Asia. So let's see, from next, we are going to move on to the country report here. We'll be witnessing and hearing the updates from 6 countries joining together as well. So first, we also have from Malaysia here, Mr. Kamil Othman. We have from Singapore, Mr. Joachim Ng. From Hong Kong, Mr. Wang. From Indonesia, Ms. Endah Wahyu. From Korea, Mr. Sung-Joo. And from Philippines here, Mrs. Liza, Dino. And for this session here will be conducted and going on here from Thailand, a host from us here. He's the Vice Chairman of the National Federation of Motion Pictures and Contents Association. So give a big round of applause and welcome Mr. Srisak Kotpacharin up here, please.
Sawadee krab. I would like to again welcome everybody from ASEAN country, our distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say that it's been 2 years that we having the last ACBS, and we have to stop for the COVID. Anyway, now as traditional, we would like to have the ACBS member country to talk about the reports, how they survive the COVID-19 situation, and what they have prepared to support their media industry for this country. So I would like to welcome the first person who involved in Malaysia media industry, from multimedia super corridor to film industry. He is the only man, Dato' Kamil Othman. And I would like to warning that, to remind you that everybody have only 12 minutes limited. Please, Dato'.
Okay, very good afternoon to everybody. I hope you can hear me well. Very good afternoon. Is it?
We hear you. Dato',
okay.
Please go on.
Right. Well, basically, before we begin with the slides, the COVID has allowed something that we have always wanted to do during the normal time, but which we couldn't. So it's basically the initiative towards what we call stock taking, and looking at our assets that have already been created, and to look at the educational part for the industry. So that is where we have come into a situation now where we can look at the perspectives of the technologies that are going to impact, well, hopefully at a time when we have actually overcome the pandemic, or when the pandemic becomes less strenuous. The nurturing of the next generation of Malaysians in particular, but we are looking within the context of the Asian content developers, because under the flag of the ACBS, the whole idea is to start now thinking seriously about the centers of excellence that can be put up so that we could promote the Creative Asian Youth programs. And for that, we have to look back at the educational side of things, and also at what talent that has been mined throughout in the case of Malaysia, over the last 12 months, which is basically, to you and me, short films. So the focus on short films and development have been very instrumental in building up the parameters for centers of excellence, not just in Malaysia, but throughout Asia under the scheme. Next, please. The next slide, please. This is the creative industries as a whole, which we have taken into the whole scheme of things that we're trying to do here. Although we are more focused at the moment right now on performing arts and their audio visuals, but there are other parties that are already looking into the other aspects of the creative industries. This is simply because the technology impact right now makes them all interchangeable. So whatever that has been researched in one area can always flow onto the other. And at the same time, the new technologies, for instance, the volumetric filmmaking, will actually be taking it a lot from the games industry, for instance. And at the same time, the application of game engines will not be confined only to filmmaking, but could also be deployed for the theater and the other traditional cultural expressions events. So in summary, the pandemic has allowed us to look at the parameters where we map out the recovery stage. So right now, for instance, we've got more than 45 scripts or projects that are only existing on paper. So it is expected that the next round of funding will be focused on the ones that have been completed. And under the circumstances, we hope this is where the collaboration within ACBS, like the recent Omnibus project and also the Project 19, will be the opening signal for more collaborations on that same level. But more importantly, what we have put down as a very important objective is to try and see if within ACBS we can create an all-ASEAN treaty, an all-ASEAN co-production treaty that will allow flexibility in the movement of our creative communities from one country to the other within Asia. And this is quite similar to what's happening in the European Union at this time, but we hope we are going to get there. So with that, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be on this virtual event. Although personally, I would prefer to be in Bangkok personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamil. Anybody have any questions? I have a questions to Dr. Kamil. How Malaysian government support the media industry during the COVID? Have you opened your theater? Can the audience go to the theater regularly?
Well, right now, yes, the theaters are open, but it has only been within the last 2 months. So it's only within the last 2 months, especially for live events. And the cinemas, although they were given the chance to open much earlier, but the cinema, the exhibitors had taken all necessary precautions. So we had to wait for another month before they made sure that the SOPs are correctly put into place.
You used to tell us that the government of Malaysia have some incentive for the production crew. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, that is still there. It's the 30% cash rebate for any production that spends that whatever the qualifying expenditure. So as a result of the pandemic, what has happened is the feature film companies have not been coming here, but the post-production have increased. So a very good example, Mandalorian from Disney was it was actually post-produced in Kuala Lumpur, and whatever they spent here, they got back 30% cash rebate. So basically, to sum it up, what has increased is post-production. The actual location shooting has been reduced, of course.
You mentioned a little bit about this. This is for foreign films that go shooting in Malaysia. How about the local industry? How does your government support the local producer or the local filmmakers or the content producers?
The Film in Malaysia incentive is applicable to both international and domestic. So they can also apply, but the threshold for the local filmmakers is lower. Just to give you an example, their budget must be 1.5 million. That's the minimum.
Thank you so
Whereas
much.
if you're talking about an international production, the threshold is about 3.5.
Thank you so much. I think Malaysia have set a good standard to support the film industry. Not only they give the 30% cash rebate to the production, they also give the rebate to the local production as well. Thank you so much. So any last word from Malaysia?
Well, sorry?
Any questions from the panels?
I'd like to ask Dr. Kamil, who has a very good suggestion about setting.
Fred, can you continue that? We cannot hear you. We have the question from the panel. Mr. Fred Wang from Hong Kong tried to ask the question to Mr. Kamil. Fred?
Can I talk now? Kamil, I very appreciate what you have just bring up, making a standardized practice between ASEAN countries from financing, producing, and distribution. Particularly now with this digital speed up, we can communicate. I hope that you can bring more detail for our next meeting, that all member countries can help how to standardize our business model. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think our time is essential. I would like to move on to our next speakers. This man is unbelievable, who encouraged Singapore for the creative or production content for Asia. Let's hear from him what Singapore offer support to Asian producer. I heard that they're doing very, very good. I would like to welcome Mr. Joachim Ng from Singapore. Hi, Joachim.
Hi, thank you, Sirasa, for the introduction. I don't know about incredible. I think we've all been incredibly busy in the last year, coping with COVID. It's my pleasure, and thank you very much, organizers, for giving me the opportunity to share with you a little bit about what has been happening in Singapore, and also some of our plans moving forward into 2022. Okay, right. This is my first slide. Yeah, okay, we'll stay here. These are some of the headlines that have been keeping us very busy in Singapore for the past year and a half. And what you see here is really the effort that we have been putting in, similar to all the Southeast Asian countries, to combat and battle COVID. Right? So COVID has, of course, in fact, impacted Singapore very badly as well. And in fact, just a couple of months ago, Singapore was having a record number of COVID infection cases. So at one point, we were at almost 5,000 cases. Today, that caseload has come down to about 500 to 600 per day. Now, this is a huge improvement and has also allowed the government to also slowly open up the economy, slowly open and permit sectors to resume some of the economic activities. Singapore is fortunate. We are a small and compact country, and we have a 95–96% vaccination rate. So this is something that has really helped us stave off a lot of the COVID-related death and prevented our hospitals from being infected, being overwhelmed. Next slide, please. Maybe a quick sharing of what has been happening in our cinemas as well as production. We have been very fortunate in a way that our cinemas and our production industry has been operating, apart from 2 months in 2020, from April to May, when there was a shutdown in Singapore. But since then, right, the cinemas actually have been operating. Now, of course, the number of audience and patrons, right, has been greatly reduced, right, to avoid crowding. There is still this 1 meter safe distancing between social groups, which greatly impacts the capacity of cinemas. And I think many of our cinemas are also, in a way, struggling to make and to break even. But the situation has improved quite greatly since last year. On the production side, we have had, in this year alone, we've had 3 waves of relaxation and then tightening again, and relaxation and tightening. Currently, we are permitting up production crew sizes of up to 50 people and on-screen talents of unmasked on-screen talents of up to 20 at a time. We anticipate that in perhaps in a few weeks' time, we probably will improve on this to allow up to 100 crew size. So some of the large productions are going to be able to resume with the next level of relaxation. The biggest problem that we face is many of our projects are co-productions, and the borders have been closed for most of the year. Of course, a lot of the vaccinated travel lanes have opened up with many countries, including Southeast Asia, and that would help a lot in terms of bringing in talents from outside, as well as our Singaporean talents going out to shoot film and other projects in the region. Okay. Next slide, please. I will maybe spend a few minutes to just share what are Singapore's priorities when it comes to our media and our film industry. We are very much now focused on developing show running capabilities, right? And show running is a term that is more familiar in actually TV broadcasts, right? Showrunners. In the film world, this is really executive producers, right? And we have now been supporting our filmmakers and our producers to go out and partner with Southeast Asian filmmakers for co-production projects, right? In fact, in 2018, we launched our, 2018, we announced our Southeast Asian co-production grant. And in 2019, we had our first call for proposals. So since then, we've had 3 rounds. Every year, we've had 1 round, 2019, 2020, and 2021. I'm happy to say that there are now 20 feature film projects, co-productions, that are in various stages of production and development. And in fact, we have collaborations or co-productions with many Southeast Asian countries, including Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, even 1 project from Myanmar, right? So there are a good representation of filmmakers from Singapore collaborating with their fellow talents and filmmakers from the region. This is something that Singapore Film Commission is going to focus on. We're very happy to support, right, stories coming from our part of the world. The other important initiative is to also continue to develop our directors and writers for Singapore stories. And in this regard, we are not just focusing on feature films. We also see our talents, our filmmaking talents, going into commercial projects. Now, these would be projects that they are doing with Disney, Warner Media, CJ Entertainment, and other OTT streamers, right, which are looking for premium content for their networks and for their platforms. So we see that there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and in fact, many of these will also be co-productions, right, and stories from the region. So this is the commercial part of our strategy. Next slide, please. This is a slide just to show example of some of the successful co-productions. I just give the audience a snapshot. For example, Popeye, right, was done a few years ago, and this was a Singapore-Thai co-production. Female Singapore director, but shot the film in Thailand, and very much a Thai language story. It won a prize in the Sundance Film Festival. Vengeance is Mine, All Others Pay Cash. This was a Singapore-Indonesian co-production funded by a Southeast Asian co-production grant, our first batch in 2019. And this film won the top prize in Locarno this year. Right? It was also the opening film for the Singapore International Film Festival, which just happened 2 weeks ago. The other examples I would highlight would be, for example, folklore. Folklore is a Singapore, Indonesian, Japan, Malaysia, Philippines, Taiwan, Thailand co-production. So multiple countries collaborating on creating a series, a drama series, actually a horror drama series for HBO Asia, right? So I think these are examples of opportunities, right, for Singapore to collaborate with a good storytelling talent from the region. And I think this is a trend that will continue, and Singapore Film Commission will be looking to fund many of these projects in the future. Next slide, please. These are just some plans that we have for 2022. I hope that we will be able to travel more freely in 2022. 2 years of no travel and unable to meet our friends in the region has been quite sad. So in 2022, certainly we would like to go back to some of the film festivals like the Marché du Film, Cannes Film Festival, Busan Film Festival, MIPCOM, which is a TV broadcast OTT event in October. It's another event on our schedule. And I think personally, I am also planning to visit a number of Southeast Asian countries, perhaps including Hong Kong, and to see my friend Fred Wang as well. But I guess what we want to do is we want to re-engage, right? We want to rebuild the friendships and the ties that we've had in the region, and then to look for more successful collaborations in 2022 and beyond. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joachim. Anybody have any questions? I would like to start with my question first. Joachim, you mentioned that you have the grant. What is the size of the grant? And is it an equity participation or it's a grant?
It's a grant, it's not equity. So it is something that the Southeast Asian co-production grant is actually modeled after the CNC of the World Cinema Fund, right? That was where we drew our inspiration from. And as you know, the French have been very generous, right, in promoting world cinema, right? So they give grants every year to filmmakers from all over the world, Southeast Asia, Africa, South America, and many of our filmmakers from Southeast Asia will go and try to secure some funding from CNC. I had that inspiration a few years ago to say, perhaps Asia could also have some funding, right, for ourselves. And that's really how this idea came about, right, to put aside some funding to fund some of the best filmmakers, the best stories from our region. Now, when we first started, we gave out 250,000 Singapore dollars. So that's about 180, 190 US dollars per project, up to that amount. And actually, to many of the regional filmmakers, that's a big sum of money, right? Things are expensive in Singapore. So 250,000 Sing dollars, you cannot quite make a feature film, right? But the idea was to put aside a significant amount of money so that this would give the filmmakers, right, a good starting point in their financing efforts, right? So we have recently raised that amount, in fact, right? Because of COVID, we know that cost has gone up, right? The grant today stands at 300,000 Singapore dollars, right? It is a competitive process. We open a call once a year, and every year many projects apply. We have funded between 6 to 8 projects every year. Yeah, but it's extremely competitive, and I'm sad sometimes to have to say no to good projects, but there are just so many good projects from the region.
Thank you so much. I hope that your grant will be bigger, and I would like to encourage Asian countries to participate and go to another option in Singapore. I have one last question. Do you provide any cash rebate similar to Malaysia?
Cash rebate, is that the question?
Cash rebate, yes.
No, we just give cash.
Okay, you need cash.
No,
okay.
There is no cash rebate system like Malaysia. So for projects, foreign projects that are shooting in Singapore, for example, we welcome those. They are not our immediate priority, right? From time to time, a project, for example, Crazy Rich Asians was shot in Malaysia and shot in Singapore, and there was some funding for that. But it was not in the form of cash rebates, right? When we find a good project that we want to support, it is a grant, right, which we will administer.
Thank you so much. So Singapore provides 250,000 Sing dollar. That's equivalent to about 5 million baht per project as a grant, and it's about 170K dollars. So thank you very much for Singapore, and I love your idea about having an Asian production fund. Let's talk about this topic later. Thank you, Joachim. I have no time for other questions, so I would like to move on to the next speaker. I don't need to explain much about him. Actually, he is one of the most senior person. I mean, he's older than all of us. He is the man who inherits from his father a film making expert. He is from Salon Film, and he is the chairman of the ACBS. I would like to I don't want to call him a father of ACBS, but I want to call him an uncle of ACBS. I would like to welcome Fred Wang. And I would like to say that you have only 12 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Serious Art. My brother, you are my brother. So no uncle, we are brothers. First of all, today my topic is the future of Asia collaboration in the media industry. And I will cover 3 significant trends. The first is technology, the second is education, and the third is the digital full industry value chain. And the number 4, I will make the closing. Now let's start with the first, the technology. Everyone can make the film now. Technology make it easier to learn and to make film. And because of the development of the artificial intelligence and machine learning, auto-dubbing, subtitling, break down language barrier, and brings the world closer than ever. Now, metaverse is a hot topic. Facebook, Disney, Microsoft are all already making efforts to bring physical and digital world together. Because of the pandemic, the industry needs to be prepared and embrace the change. The future of content creation will be in virtual studio, transforming the way content is created. From prep to editing, post, distribution, and payments. This process will all be made online. Virtual production. Studios are currently being built. Visual effect. Works will be done in real time on set. These are development in Hong Kong and China as well. The Hong Kong Design Institute is currently producing an experimental short film. The production process will use the LED background and a software solution provided by the London company Digest. And in many China, companies are also develop virtual production system and building LED screen. Hangzhou-based Boshi Media has set up a virtual production studio, while Shanghai-based startup Xingyang Film and Television Production have tested its LED wall display. The beginning of the virtual productions in Hollywood was not so long ago, and Go exploded, especially during the pandemic. So now the chance is, no matter in Asia or Europe or Hollywood, we are starting virtual production around the same time. We are looking for this new technology to visualize and virtualize the whole production process, starting from previous, tech-based, and to the post. This gives Asia a lot of opportunities to grow and formulate our Asia industrial standards. Now the second page, the education. We are mentioned that virtual production will help the film industry build a new industrial production system. At the same time, we need to educate young professionals with those latest technologies to help them learn more and develop. But meanwhile, the content itself delivering educational message all the time. The film or media industry help with transparency and engage the audience with ongoing value, with the significant impact of digital media in our lives and our future generation. Media should focus more on utilizing the technology to make communication more efficient, to educate people, and deliver these critical values such as equality, collaboration, harmony, and protecting the environment. The world has been separated and quarantined for more than a year now, and it's not finished yet. And while we are staying at home and delivering our orders and masks we wear and air condition we turn on, all those movies and shows we watch through the streaming platform all increase human consumption in plastic, electricity, and other resources. After the pandemic, we need to learn how to protect the environment. That's where the media should play an important role. For Salon Films, we found the Salon Media Lab in the 2016. SML hosts events and courses to teach young people and elderly how to make films. It aims to encourage participation, to learn and to apply new technology, be mindful of the current environment, and create new content in the media industry. Now the third one, the digital full industrial value chain. Digitalization drives the in-depth integration between the industry. It creates more opportunity. For example, NFT, the non-fungible token, recently, there has been an explosion of Hollywood moving into NFT. Viacom, Lionsgate, all strike deals to turn IP into NFTs. AMC theaters now let the people pay for their movie ticket and concessions online with cryptocurrency, and also want to use blockchain technology to turn communicated movie theater ticket into NFTs. This enhances the notion of creating a digital full industrial value chains, and it will help the media industry to break down industrial barrier and generate more commercial value. Many people were questioning whether the theater would survive after the COVID. especially seeing the explosion of the streaming platforms. Theater is still necessary, but theater needs to be changed. The future of the media industry will not be one-way communication. It will require more functions. It can be a multi-use venue for people to get together, to celebrate, hold events, and watch games. And big screen will work together with the small screen. With mobile phone, theater need to create interaction with the digital world and extend their value chain. By creating a unique digital full industrial value chain, we will then the content industry to prepare and complete the upgrade. This means from financing to distribution, and digital to virtual, and home-based to international. Now, finally, the conclusion. Page 4 means the final come back to our main topic. These three new trends will lead us to form new collaboration between Asian countries. Now we see surge of Asian content across the multiple platforms, and big Hollywood players are entertaining the Asian market. We need to create more collaboration opportunities between Asian countries by connecting more closely through technology, by completing the digital full industrial value chain, and by strengthening collaboration with Asia and with the world. We will build our universal culture and accelerate the upgrade and transforming of the industry. Thank you very much. Serious talk, back to you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to remind you that we have finished your time. Thank you very much for spending and sharing a lot of ideas for the technology for us. I would like to have a few questions for you. Since everybody talk about the country pass on this COVID situation, and I'm aware that in Hong Kong, you have a very long quarantine for 14 days, up to 21 days. How is your industry? Is the production going on? Is the theater still open? And what is the government support the media industry people?
The theater is open, of course, with limited people have to wear masks and also distance each other. Filmings are still ongoing, but of course they have to be very careful and make sure they are not creating trouble. Now, basically is two different situations. Mainland China and Hong Kong is practicing zero tolerance. They don't allow anybody to come in and going out unless they are clean and clear of quarantine first. Rather than some country, like Singapore or some other country, they try to open for living with the virus. To some extent, they have to be slowed down because when they have more people get infected. And then when they are more safe, then they will start to relax a little bit. So it's two different policies. So hopefully both policy resolve the problem that we can communicate and get together again. I hope so for the next year.
Yeah. Have you heard any program from the governments of Hong Kong to support the film industry people?
We are obviously trying to make new program and plans. Obviously that the Chinese government is now also expanding for more connection in Hong Kong. Particularly, they refer it as a Big Bay area. That's between Hong Kong, Macau, and 9 cities across the border. And they are now making possibility of opening the border for people moving between China, Hong Kong, and crossing the border to the nice city with limited control. Not everybody free travel. So in other words, as I said, they are very careful in controlling the virus situation.
Anyway, thank you. Your time is up. Our time is up. So anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Fed Wong, or uncle, our nice and compassionate uncle. I'm looking forward to see you soon in Hong Kong or in Thailand. I would like to move to the next speakers. Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce you an iron lady behind the creative in the economy of Indonesia. She did so many things for and make Indonesia a very success and strong creative economy. I would like to welcome Endah, Wahyu, Sulistianti, if I'm not pronouncing wrong. Welcome, Endah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sirisak. First of all, I would like to share my screen from here. Okay. Has everybody see the screen now? Hello?
Yes, it's clear and clean.
Okay. Thank you, Sirisak. First of all, I would like to congratulate the Bangkok Asian Film Festival and the ACBS that been successfully conducting the seminar, to Fred Wang and Mika Takagi and our respectful colleagues, members and speakers of ACBS. I would like to greet you all for the great healthiness during the pandemic as we are all start to overcome it as a new normal now. It has been a while since we have the summit in person before the pandemic in Jakarta 2 years ago. A little bit different with the changing role of the Indonesian government, as now I'm not represent myself as the creative economy agency officer as before, as the agency is now have been merged into a Minister of Tourism. But something that I've been doing long before I served the government 5 years ago and still related to the content industry. Okay, I would like to start my presentation. It's called The Pandemic, Content Industry and Nature Conservation. It would have different perspective with previous speakers that I believe this matter would enrich the seminar as I want this important subject matter to not left behind in the SBS. I would like to start with the description of the situation of film industry also during the pandemic. Since April 2020, the film sector worldwide has suffered a heavy blow, including Indonesia, which has around 42,000 workers in the sectors. By the end of 2020, GDP from film in Indonesia is estimated to grow negatively at 0.03%. The scale of financial losses of film producer apparently and the socioeconomic impact of the pandemic COVID-19 differs according to the stage of the production of its film. Of course, during the pandemic, the trend of movie watching patterns changed and increased to online streaming OTT platform. This trend also reflected in the increased number of Netflix users. Netflix was banned before Indonesia, but since 3 years ago, it's been allowed to stream in Indonesia, which increased the user increase significantly in 2020, which an estimated total of more than 900,000 customers in Indonesia. OTT hosted by local provider is quite promising also. One of them is Bioskop Online platform, where 4 months after its launch, their registered subscriber reached around 400,000 users. However, the number of viewers still not been able to break even the production cost, as it is required around more than 800,000 viewers on an online platform. In line with the gradual recovery, we all hope that the content industry in Indonesia, particularly and in Asia, will soon recover. And I will now talk about this. The focus I would like to present that about the pandemic, the content industry, and the nature conservation. The COVID-19, we know, has been spread around the world at lightning speed, killing hundreds and thousands of people and affecting millions. Stand as one of the starkest and most urgent warning that our relationship with nature is unsustainable. This one is need to be clarified. Apparently, there is a misperception that nature is getting a break from humans during the COVID-19 pandemic. Instead, many rural areas in the tropics are facing increasing pressure, land grabbing, deforestation, illegal mining, and wildlife poaching. While the exact source of the virus remains uncertain, this picture orangutan need to be swapped because of the 19% of their DNA is similar to us. And all the virus, including COVID-19, is zoonotic. It jumps from animals to people as a result of our increasing interaction with wildlife. And this is other impact of, as we know, maybe if you know, sometimes around this year in China, that wild elephant wandering in China, in the city. And what we can do, one opportunity the content industry community could contribute. As we know, cinema can influence the awareness and behavior of non-specialist audience, and could therefore play an important positive or negative role in biodiversity conservation through behavioral change and social pressure on key stakeholders and policymakers. Film can also have a powerful, can be also a powerful tool to change narrative around nature and biodiversity loss. Understanding more about audience and impact can help to drive support for the urgent and effective conservation work going on around the globe. So here, as we can see from the case studies of Our Planet movie, if you know, in Netflix, stream in Netflix and YouTube, it's gained a lot of viewers and impacts and audiences and awareness around the globe in many forms of interaction and profit. So this kind of content actually can impact and more in the content industry, not only to the viewers and the awareness, but also to the business sector itself. And I would like also to have a chance to introduce what I'm focusing now. Here is the one of the international conservation organization in Indonesia and in Asia. Started, the founder is Bernard Griesbeck, a German filmmaker and zoologist. Actually, he is the first Germany Oscar winner after the war with his documentary. He operated our conservation. We operated our conservation work around the globe, including in Asia, in Indonesia and Vietnam. We envision a world where wildlife and wildlands are cherished and sustainably protected for their instinctive and economic value for to present and future generation. And the focus our work is in now in Sumatra. We protect the Sumatran orangutans, elephant and Sumatran tigers, and also the ecosystem. They're nearly to be extinct. As you know, I think Malaysia, Singapore, and is sharing also with this wildlife protection. And this is Leonardo DiCaprio is one of our great supporter. He's been working and supporting us as one of the public figure. And last, with the future opportunity and collaboration, we think that there will be a framework that enables conservation to better understand and engage with the film industry, highlighting how this can facilitate engagement with the movie industry, harness its potential, and improve work to mitigate any negative consequences. And I would like also to let you know that we also hold treasure of wildlife footage and content of wildlife and conservation since 50 years ago for future collaboration, and we plan in the next future to make this FZF leaks, and also with new technology enhancement. So let's make conservation count in this ACBS, and hope that we can collaborate and make a difference through the content business. Thank you very much. Wishing you all the great healthiness. Thank you, Surisak. I'll give back this to you, the forum.
Okay, thank you very much. I learned a lot about your wildlife, and I checked your bio, so you become a bio or zoologist, something like that. Anyway, I would like to come back to our ideas. Do you know that how Indonesian government support the film industry during the COVID, or any special program to support them?
During last year, as I know, government gives like some subsidies, money subsidies actually to the filmmakers. It is around 30,000, 30. It's 30. Actually, it's less than $50 US dollars a month for all filmmakers. By the mid of 2020, for 2 months, the theaters once open with the strict protocol, and then closed again. But now, starting about 2 months ago, it's been opening again, and the film production is start to conducting again.
Thank you. So we learned that the governments give some cash for 2 months to the film industry people.
Yeah.
Okay, we should apply for that too. Okay, thank you very much, Miss Endah.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
you too.
I would like to move to the last two speakers. I think next is the Korea. We all know that Korean films or Korean contents have locked the world, not only for our Asian people who love it, but the whole world who love it. I have here the speakers from the private industry. He used to work for CJE&M, Jada Media, Smile Entertainment, and have a lot of profile working in the media industry. I would like to welcome Mr. Sung-Joo.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Moon. Okay, can you see my presentation file?
Not yet.
Not
yes,
yet?
we saw that.
You can see.
Yes, please go ahead. You have 12 minutes.
Okay, I'm starting. Yeah, hello, my name is Moon from Korea. I am pleased to speak about the now and future of our Korean film industry under COVID-19 today. We know that there are a lot of various content industries such as movies, broadcasting, music, and publishing. So, however, we would like to talk about today focusing on the Korean film industry, which I have been involved in more than 20 years. And then let's start talking. In February 2020, we had the Parasite makes a history by winning Best Picture in the Oscar. So we are very happy, because, like our own things. But on celebrating Director Bong Joon-ho, the WHO declares COVID-19 a pandemic, as we all know. So as we all experience, COVID-19 has focused more change on the Korean industry. So the Korean industry has grown into one of the world's most the active markets, but from last year, the box office sales and admissions went down to by approximately 73% compared to 2019. Production stopped, the cinema shut down, the film releasing postponed due to the pandemic. So total box office by October 2021 down 16.5% from the same period last year. The film industry collapsed after the COVID-19. So changing the viewing pattern, we watched a lot of film in the cinema, but we moved to OTT. The many subscribers for Netflix increased. Then after that, the Watcha, TV, the Wave, which are the local OTT platforms, started their services. The Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus launched in November this year. So the OTT market in Korea is expected to grow even more in the coming years. So CJ Showbox, Lotte, New, and so on, classically, actually, they are investment and distribution company, but they have joined in the production side. The studio has been consolidating their production pipelines with early acquisitions and focusing on producing by themselves. So they actually, their partners were production company, but their business partner will be a global platform, OTT global platform, such as Netflix, Disney, HBO, Max, Apple. So, you know, the Squid Game is Netflix #1 show of the all time. So now we all filmmakers are setting the new order for the COVID-19 era. So, you know, the Miss Green's Hwang Dong-hyuk directed Squid Game. The Korean local girl Han Junhee directed DP. The Train to Busan, Yeon Sang-ho directed Hellbound. The Good, the Bad, the Weird, the Kim Ji-woon directed the Dr. Brain for Apple TV Plus. The filmmakers are out of options on the COVID-19. They have to make the content. So actually, we are watching the
I think there's the internet difficulties. Mr. Moon, can you hear us? All the participants, do you still hear us? We lost Mr. Moon. Mr. Moon, we lost you. Okay, we just, the technician just told me that Mr. Moon have lost his connection. So we try to manage to have him come back. If in a few seconds he cannot come back, I would like to move to the next speaker, Philippines. Please prepare yourself. I will give 1 minute to patch him back. Fred and other people, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so there is the technical problem. Philippines, are you ready if I jump to you now?
Yes, ready. I'm just waiting here.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Is there any chance that we can have Korean back in this 30 seconds? No. So I would like to move on to our next speakers. Let me find the note, I would like to introduce you. Actually, the Philippine speaker, she is very, very special. Why I say that? She actually the former state actress. If you can look, she's quite beautiful. I believe that you are the main actress, right? And now she become the chairperson and CEO of the Film Development Council of Philippines. I think we meet and talk during some other seminar. So I would like to welcome Miss Liza Dino.
Thank you, Sisak.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. To our colleagues who have just presented, a really good snapshot on what's happening in our respective countries. Good afternoon to you all. I am so honored to be part of this ACBS presentation. I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Mark Piton. He is the Cultural Counselor of the French Embassy in the Philippines, for endorsing me and bringing me in as part of this very, very important meeting. So I am Liza Dino. I am the chairperson and the CEO of the Film Development Council of the Philippines. And today I'll be discussing new initiatives in the Asian content industry during the pandemic time, what the FDCP has done, when everyone is in quarantine and really cannot go out. I mean, we were all working and we all knew that and all know that because of all the presentations this afternoon. We're also going to present a new technology that we also transitioned into to deliver new content and what we foresee as the current value of Asian content in the global market. So just to give you an idea of who we are the FDCP. We are a national film agency under the Office of the President of the Philippines. We are quite unique in the kind of setup that we have in the FDCP because we're like a one-stop shop. So basically, we are the Film Commission. We have the Film Philippines office, which is in charge of bringing foreign productions to the Philippines and promoting our country as a film destination. We're also in charge of providing promotional support all over the world for Philippine cinema. We're bringing our filmmakers in various film festivals world, and we're also in charge of our cinematic heritage, which is a very, very important part of how we preserve our films and content. Next page, please. So before we dive into the topics that I'm going to present, I'll just give you a snapshot of our industry numbers pre-pandemic, just so you have an idea of where we were. We make around 11.5 billion pesos or 227.5 million USD every year with 52.5 million admissions. Our price point is around 4.35 USD for our tickets, with around 300,000 USD median production cost for our films. We have 920 screens and producing around 120 films a year. Our domestic market share is around 31%, around 3.5 billion pesos, or around so around 3.5 billion pesos. So we are fortunate to also have, just like Korea, a movie-going public who are patronizing Filipino films. And we actually can go head-to-head with a Marvel film or a studio film on a given day, especially when what we show are our comedy films, our romantic comedy films with blockbusters with stars as part of it. So we can make around 17.4 million USD for a film hitting a box office success, or around 80.6 million. So just giving you a snapshot here of where we used to be as an industry. And then pandemic happened, and we all know how that went. Unfortunately, for 2020 to 2021, we have very grim numbers. Productions are struggling with an added 30% in production expenses to comply with COVID protocol and measures. Our cinemas were closed for 20 months. There was never an opportunity for us to even try to open. We only opened this November. So this was a 20-month closure with no income whatsoever that was given, and provided an opportunity for our cinema operators. Even if we opened already for production shoots in May 2020, because of the COVID-19 protocol measures that were launched and provided for the industry, we only have 25% of the films who actually started shooting because of the COVID cost, the protocols that are involved. And from 120 films a year, we ended up with just 29 films a year. So we had a 16 billion or around 316 million USD loss as of March of 2021, 21 billion pesos loss or 415 million USD lost as of for our cinemas, and around 760,000 workers who were affected. We are a very old industry. We are one of the oldest cinemas in Asia. We're more than 100 years old. So you can just imagine the many, many film workers that were affected during this pandemic. So the challenges were real, and it was really difficult. But with every difficulty, there is an equal opportunity to continue supporting the industry. So the government actually allowed us for COVID-19 interventions so that we can allocate and reallocate the budget that we have and, created support for our industry. So I took this, and the FDCP took this as an opportunity to realize our dream of a multilateral cooperation among the region. This has been something that we have been championing. We are really pushing for more of our Southeast Asian filmmakers, for our Asian filmmakers to work together. So we were able to launch full-fledged Full Circle Lab Philippines. This is an international project development lab among Filipino and Southeast Asian filmmakers. This is a partnership between FDCP and the French company Dino Films under the expert tutelage of Mathieu Darras. He is the former artistic director of Torino Film Lab. And with a team of international mentors, we took on that challenge to develop different projects from Philippines and Southeast Asia to make them ready to elevate their quality and for potential distribution and exhibition to our global audience. So we have different series in these labs. We have a fiction lab that nurtures feature films that are in development. We have series lab that is aimed to support episodic content because we want to be, current with how films are, how content is now being developed and produced. We also have, of course, our support for our animation, which is the animation lab. And the first cut lab is very important. This is a work in progress lab where we support the last stage of the films ready to actually be submitted to international film festivals through an editing lab. And of course, our new one is a creative producers lab because we need to create more producers in the region so they can support more Southeast Asian films. So with this Full Circle Lab Philippines, we were able to realize this vision to advance the Southeast Asian cinema towards internationalization and optimal audience reach for global consumption. So just giving you a sample of the successes that we have gained in this very short time that we have created this program. From the Philippines, we had all of these are projects from this lab. A film, John Denver Trending, went to Busan in 2019. Fangirl made its premiere in Tokyo and Tallinn. Remnants of a Revolution, a documentary, made its world premiere in Sheffield Docks. An Elegy to Forgetting was premiered in Shanghai Film Festival. Another film, Son of a Bitch, I think. The Nympha Di Maano story. I'm so sorry. It's an animated feature, and it's the first animated feature that was showcased in the Cannes of Animation Annecy Film Festival. And just announced this morning, Leonore Will Never Die is now we have a film in the main competition of the Sundance Film Festival this 2022. So we are very pleased with all of these projects that actually created a traction in the international festival and market. And not only that, we also had projects that we were able to support, like Sixth Finger in the Berlinale co-production market, Dancing the Tides at Cannes La Fabrique in 2021, and SAM, which is part of the Locarno Open Doors. So this was just the Filipino films that was supported by this lab. Because of our goal to really support Southeast Asian films, we also had Southeast Asian projects that actually created also traction internationally after being in the lab. So we have Peers. This is a film from Singapore and Taiwan, and it made it to Tokyo Talents. Don't Cry Butterflies from Singapore and Vietnam as well. Was featured in the Locarno Open Doors 2021.
You have 2 minutes left.
Production Causeway is now at the Bangkok ASEAN Film Festival last 2020, and Hours of Hours and other films actually really created their international track with also the support, an added support given by our lab. So of course, from project development, what's next? We have to support our production of films. So we also reallocated our funds and gave us the opportunity to provide incentives for our films. So we have, through our Film Philippines office, which is it's like the Film Commission of the world. We're tasked to promote the Philippines as a filming destination. We created 2 incentives. So the first incentive was the ASEAN Co-Production Fund. This is available for feature film projects with a director of any ASEAN nationality, but partnering with the Philippines. So this is a selective fund that supports selected projects from 50,000 USD to around 150,000 US dollars, and they only have to spend 50% of their of the money in the Philippines, and then the 50% in their country of choice. So this is just like what Joachim said. This was actually created to supplement and complement the existing Southeast Asian Co-Production Fund, patterned after the Cinema du Monde, which has been very effective for a lot of our Southeast Asian filmmakers. And we want to create this more regional support, like in-house, we'll say it in-house funding for our Southeast Asian and Asian filmmakers. So we also have the International Co-Production Fund. This is in the form of a grant of up to 200,000 US dollars. We can support between 25% to 40% of their spend in the Philippines. So whatever they can achieve a maximum amount, or on a pro rata rate of whatever they spend, equivalent to a percentage that is identified by the fund. So because of this, we have been able to support through our ACOF, next page please, autobiography. This is now in post-production stage from Indonesia, of Makbul Mubarak. The City is a Battlefield of Indonesia as well, with Muli Surya. Coolie Never Cries, it's a Vietnamese project with Pham Ngoc Lan, and Ella Arcangel, our very own director, Mervyn Malonzo, is creating another female-led feature film animated character lead story. And of course, for our ICOF, we have When the Waves Are Gone by Lav Diaz, Nocibo with Lorcan Finnegan. It's an international co-production with Ireland and United Kingdom. Some Nights I Feel Like Walking with Peterson Vargas, and many, many more. We also have Jajo Saturna versus the Amazonistas of Planet X. This is with Avid Longoren. And this is a French, Switzerland, Philippines, and more countries coming in to really support this project. And of course, Whether the Weather is Fine, we know how it has been so successful during its premiere at the Locarno Film Festival. Kodokushi, Dancing the Tides, and Hold My Gaze. So we are supporting more and more.
We give you 1 minute extra.
I believe that this is really activating a lot of energy from African filmmakers.
You have 1 minute extra for me.
Where do they go after? Yes. So after they show, of course, they need a platform, and this is the FTCP channel. So this is the FTCP channel features. This is a government-run channel, and we feature different content. Right now, we have 33,978 subscribers with 550 films. And the goal for us actually right now, which I'm going to ask, is for this to be a platform for our Southeast Asian countries to take advantage of our channel to bring and showcase Southeast Asian content to the world audience and to the Filipino audiences. I believe my time is up. I just want to share what we have done in the country and how we are able to transition even during this pandemic, and how a lot of our films have actually thrived internationally, even if, you know, we are feeling really lost and frustrated because we can't go anywhere. So yeah, is my time done?
Yes, you can have your last words.
Okay, so I'll just give you can we go to the page of the films that have been going out, and I think it's very important to us for this. This is the value of our Asian content right now. Everyone is looking into us on the contents that we are creating. We are in different major platforms. We are participating in international film festival. Our stories are indigenous, it's unique, and it's something that the world is craving for. So let's take advantage of this opportunity for us to work together to really create a films and content that is very, very identifying of our region and where we're from. And I think that right now is what the world needs. They need local stories, but told and presented in a universal and global format. So thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to more collaborations, because right now I see a lot of my colleagues here that have had a lot of collaborations with the FTCP. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liza. I enjoy your presentation and your speech and your information. Actually, you do a very good job. I can see that. I have a few questions because I have Mr. Moon back. So we will have him back in 1 minute. So Mr. Moon, please prepare yourself. Okay. Do you, the Film Development Council is a government, right? So besides that, you provide us two programs that support the filmmakers. Do you have any incentive or any support for the individuals or the cruise members during the COVID?
Yes, we have what we, so the COVID intervention programs that we have covered cash financial assistance for our for our film workers in the amount of around almost $200 in two tranches, in two times. There's a first wave and a second wave. It's called our DEAR program. And then, of course, we also commissioned, and it's called a Good Jab campaign, which allowed for us to work with different LGUs, local government units, to vaccinate our film workers. We were able to vaccinate around 5,000 of our film workers to make sure that we are there. We are on top of this program to make sure that they're safe and they can get those vaccines so that they can start working.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that time is up. So we hope that we can talk to you later in other different panel. I would like to come back to Mr. Moon. Mr. Moon, are you ready? Yes. Can you continue your presentation? And then you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, I continue. Okay, I'm sorry, I had some power problem, so I'm continuing my presentation. So we have a lot of time to at home, so we are reading a webtoon. So we made a lot of films from webtoons, along with the gods, the Itaewon Class to TV dramas and Sweet Home as well. So even now, many webtoons are in the process of being made into the filmmaking or TV shows. And technical issues, we are changing the technical skills. So we are making the virtual studio, the VA Corporation, Dexter Studio, CJENM, they opened the virtual studio. Then we made the digital human. It's like an influencer from by Unreal Engine. They will be an actor and actress in the cinemas. So BTS has become the most popular boy band loved by people around the world. And Baby Shark became YouTube's most watched video of all time in 2020. As I mentioned before, Korean webtoons are going to the global market, from domestic market to international. So we are having a hard time under COVID-19, but our show must go on, we are thinking. The Joseph Knight, professor of Harvard University, said soft power comes from the three major sources. Let's turn back the time for the moment and think about the Miss Granny. This film went to the received remake in Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai, Japanese, Indonesian, Philippines, and Indian, as well as Germany, English, Spanish version will made soon. The Minari Young won Best Supporting Award in Oscar, and again Squid Game. Then COVID-19 impacted Korean film market, and filmmakers fear cinemas may not survive COVID-19 pandemic. But we are thinking about the older Ho Min-hwae, CEO of CGV, said, when the contents I want to see is released, the audience visits the cinema. So, and many people are watching the OTT. And in past decade, we made a lot of films with ASEAN filmmakers, so we will do again. So after the new chapter in 100-year history of Korean cinema has opened since 2020, we are starting the new steps. Thank you for listening today. I'm sorry again. So thank you for the presentation today. I'm finished.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Moon. Very interesting. So we still have some time left. I have a question to you. Is there any government support to the industry? I have this same question to all countries.
Yes, we had some support program from government. During last year, we had a support for money or some discount for the film tax, or they support for discount ticket for moviegoers in the cinemas. So there, so we had a lot of support from the beginning, like the development to the cinema. So then, but we are still hungry to make films or to see the film in the cinemas. So that's we are discussing with government, with the filmmakers a lot of times. So next year, we are hoping the more good conditions.
Thank you very much. I think Koreans have set a very high standard in supporting the film industry. Then it takes some time that the film producer and content producer to become very top of the world. Now, I think we have about 10 minutes left for this session. I would like to open the floor, the question to anybody, to any speakers. You can say which speaker and you like to have them answer your questions. First, I would like to maybe from the speaker, you want to ask any speakers, other speaker, some question. So maybe I start with Philippines. I still have a few questions with how Philippines do a very good job. Since you are the government support, strong support to the private sector, have Philippines set up any kind of budget, like annually of how many $1 million to support the industry? Do you have that numbers?
Yes, actually, we were just approved for next year, around $3 million for our Film Philippines incentives. So this will cover our cash rebate for partnerships in line production. So that's just, you know, coming to the Philippines, you shoot, you work with a line production, and then you leave. And then, of course, our goal for international co-production, which is ICOF and ACOF, yes.
So it's a $3 million, and I hope that, I believe that it's going to be increased if you do a good job. Yeah, okay.
We hope
yes.
so. In legislation right now, we are, if it's approved by this year, we're going to increase it to 500 million annually. So this is something that the entire industry is really excited about.
What is 500 million? Is a peso or US dollar?
Oh no, it's 500 million pesos. So that's around. It's a sizable amount in our country. We're still a developing country. We're not Singapore. Hi, Joachim.
Yeah, that shocked me. 500 million when you say that $3 million and you jump to that 500 million numbers. Anyway, any questions from other speakers? Fred, yes, please.
I have one suggestion to all the members of ACBS. We just heard a wonderful progress from Philippines, and we would like to Ms. Dino to consider in the future. We will host an ACBS meeting in Philippines, and we all go to Manila to see you.
I will be honored. Joachim has been in the Philippines, so we'll make sure it's going to be memorable for you. And we're opening up, so yes, this is really going to be possible. Thank you, Mr. Wang, and thank you, ACBS.
The participants, you also can text your questions. You can text your questions, so you can ask any speaker what questions you can text. Any questions? Yes,
Another
Kamil.
question, seriously, I was just referring what you have been requesting or suggesting, that we all member of ACBS country members, we should form a All Asia Media Development Fund so that we can all collaboration with each others. We should all come together with the all Asian content. We heard from the Australia, the Korea, Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, of course. Thank you for your hosting. That we really have a great opportunity to have all Asia work together. Then the fund can support all programs come together, and then we can exchange among Asia and also among all the rest of the world.
Thank you, Fred. Actually, that is the objective that I'm going to list in the next session. But I will be noted that we should come together and to support as a fund. I would like to Dr. Kamil, you raise your hand, please.
Yes, as we mentioned earlier, I've always liked the idea of what's happening in Europe at this moment, where every film made is literally a co-production. And we're not talking just about the funding, but we are talking about the stories and the way by which things weave into each other in such a way that, number one, mainstream, mainstream cinema can still go on, but it has a flavor of what we call the European flavor. Now, here we are in Asia, the rice eating culture. And I believe that we deserve a similar kind of setup. I know it's at the governmental level, and I know that some of us, like myself, we are not directly in the government, but I'm sure at a platform like the ASEAN meetings, this could be something that could be tabled, and ACBS can take the lead for this. This is because we have already heard many times that because of COVID, for example, the solution right now, apart from recovery in each country, it's actually we should start looking at cross boundary films that can travel, filmmakers that can travel from one ASEAN Asian country to another and just make films. You see, this is possible because right now it's all about that. It's about exchange culture, exchange. I mean, it's the diversity which we have not exploited, but which had been hinted at many times. So with that, I'm just trying to push forward again the idea that we can take the lead for that. It's like a co-production treaty with all Asian countries. Freedom of movement, freedom of financing, freedom of, actors can move around. In Malaysia, we used to have the Multimedia Super Corridor project where international parties enter the country not through the normal process. It comes in through a special visa, a special permit. So in other words, if there's a will, there's a way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Joachim, you have any words?
No, I think my friend Kamil has a great idea. And I mean, this is something that I think naturally we should progress into, right? A closer platform for collaboration, freedom of movement, equipment for filmmakers and for media professionals, I think is fantastic. I myself and also Liza have had some experience working with ASEAN platform, and it is a good platform, but it works by consensus, and therefore it is something where every member will have to agree, and it's rather a slow process. So I would suggest this, right? If we can go faster, right, and we can collaborate on unilateral, bilateral, or multilateral, but in whoever that's willing to collaborate, we come together and we move, right? Would be my suggestion, right? I would like to get started. Of course, I'm very impatient to get started as soon as we can. So even in 2022, if the situation allows, right, we can really start putting together plans, right, of how we can bring about such collaboration, whether it is through funding or whether it is through perhaps lobbying governments, right, to say, okay, can we work with this framework so that we can get going in parallel to actually seeking perhaps full endorsement from the ASEAN body.
I saw our friend from Japan, Miss Mika Takaki. Do you have any questions or you like to say any words?
Thank you very much. I think Japanese film industry is not as global as the other countries, as you mentioned, So it's kind of like self-made movies in Japan, but I think there is a need and potential for Japanese film industry to collaborate with other Asian and Southeast Asian countries as well. So your idea about the treaty sounds really interesting, especially regarding that Japan has closed the border right now. So it would be, great to have like film, producers and like actors, actresses who were able to come to Japan as of now, which is not possible. But I think there is a lot of potential in Asian content regarding like the market and also about the production, capacity. There's a lot of talent and facilities and like different places to shoot in Asian countries. So maybe we can move this discussion forward with these ACBS members.
Okay, I think our time is up. We are now at 14:15. That is our session have another 5 minutes. So I would like to have the last word from Mr. Fred Wang. You would like to say something?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Number one, I think in Japan, they make the seventh samurai movie with Kurosawa. And currently, they have a lot of Transformer American films making. Now, this knowledge and creative is from Japan, and Hollywood have been followed. New one, Korea, I'm very admired that Korean film media are now very well received by not only all Asia, but also on all the Western countries in US and Europe too. And even more exciting, I see Philippines and Indonesia, Malaysia, particularly Dr. Kamil and Joachim from Singapore mentioning how we all Asia work together. Not long ago, just a few months ago, I was talking to my good friends from Washington, D.C., knowing the Salon had been for more than half a century doing all the Hollywood movie in all over Asia. He was requesting not only more Hollywood movie coming to Southeast Asia, but say how we can also go to US. And I'm very fully confident, Sirisak, your Thailand, that you have been making your movie with the cave in the children and going to distribute worldwide with the US participant. The support, the suggestion I have today, the conclusion is we should all work together as a whole Asian team, and we will make a trip to, after Philippines, we will make a trip to Hollywood, say we all go there, have a ACBS in Hollywood, and working with US industry together. I see this world future is all working together. And Mika, with this suggestion, I think this go to your office. You will be the leader for us to work on.
Thank you so much, everybody, every speakers. I think that session 1 is exactly end at the moment. I would like to thank you all speakers, and we hope that we see each other face to face in any Asian country. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. And then we will continue to the second session. Thank you so much. สวัสดีครับ